I'd like to call this meeting of the Fair Rent Commission to order. And I'd like to hear who the commissioners are through roll call.
Dan Gajewski, present.
Hi, Dan.
Guinevere Depot.
Hi, Guinevere. Anyone else?
And Taylor's here.
What's the question? Sorry. I'm at
You're
work.
here. You're here. All right, folks, we're here to talk about the issue with Mr. Saragakis and Miss Jessie King. Would anybody like to start off? Okay, well, in November, the Fair Rent Commission received a complaint of an unfair rent increase. And it's taken us to this day to make a judgment as to whether or not that was fair or unfair. And if anybody's got anything to say, let's open up the floor.
I have a quick question about that.
Go ahead.
So I wasn't here in November. I wasn't on the commission. So was there any meeting held at all?
No, we didn't have
Okay.
a
Okay.
I guess I'll start. Ms. King, a question I have for you, can you hear me? Is
Yeah.
Why was the original complaint made?
Jesse?
Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Well, I believed that I made the first complaint because I thought the rent increase, I had a couple of reasons for that. Number one, I had signed a lease that I thought continued through December 1st. So I did not believe that I should be subject to a rent increase. However, or I didn't think that my rent should increase for November. I thought that if I were going to incur an increase, it should have started on December. Saragakis said that that wasn't the fact. He said that he voided my lease in October when he decided to reform or make a new LLC under his wife's name, and he transferred the property to the new company. So then my lease was voided. But that was one of my reasons. The second reason I made the complaint was because he, for the past 6 years, my utilities were included in the rent. And so in addition to the increased rent of $100, he was also going to have me pay utilities. And the apartments in that building are not individually metered. So he was just planning to take the entire building's bill and divide it equally among the apartments there, which I didn't think was, which I took issue with because for a couple of reasons. The apartments are not really equal. Like the woman upstairs from me has laundry, has like a washer and dryer in her apartment, and I don't have washer and dryer. And then there's also a washer and dryer in the basement of that building, which belongs to someone who, and is used by someone who doesn't even live in the building. So I didn't feel like we should be paying for or subsidizing other people's water usage when it wasn't our own. Also, the apartment, the building is super drafty. It's not weatherized very well. And people supplement the heat with space heaters. And in the summertime, we all add our own air conditioners and run it to varying degrees of coldness and all hours of the day. So I just didn't think that that was going to be equitable. And I asked him to, arrange for the apartments to be metered individually, but he refused to do that. And let's see, that was my major complaint, was the utilities and the rent increase in general.
Gwen, you had something to say?
Well, I'm used to council meetings where you wait for someone to acknowledge you, so I don't want to interrupt anyone, but I have a quick question, actually probably for the attorney. I was under the impression if you change a lease, you have to give 30 days notice with a very clear explanation of why you're changing or terminating a lease. Is that accurate?
So my understanding of the complaint that was filed was that there was a written lease that expired in December of 2015. So that it's a month. Is that accurate?
No,
Ms. King, is that correct?
no, it says it renews yearly. Unless someone gives notice, like if I give notice that I'm leaving, it says it renews yearly, like automatically.
So there is a
And, like,
written lease right now, because in the complaint, I believe it said there's no written lease.
There is no written lease for the increase. Like, I was never presented with a new lease where I could agree to the rent increase. So yeah, I mean, according to the original lease signed in December of 2014, it automatically renews unless someone gives notice that I'm leaving or that there are terms change. But like, so he gave me notice on October 1st that my rent was going to go up beginning November 1st. But according to my lease, at the very least, the increase should have been seen in December, not November.
I mean, as far as I'm know, and the rules are that a 30-day notice is what is legally required. And again, it's directed at the attorney. A 30-day notice is what's legally required to increase someone's rent or change a lease, which this would be a lease change. Is that right, attorney?
I think if it was a month-to-month lease, verbal month-to-month lease, I think generally that's correct, but I'm a little confused on whether that's what we have here. Because on the November complaint form, there's a question, is there a written lease? And on my copy, it says yes and no. Both are checked. It says yes from December of 14 to December of 2015. And then it says that the terms of the 2014 lease renewed yearly. And then there was a subsequent complaint filed in December. And the question is there a written lease? And the response was no. So I think we have to clarify if there's an active lease that's in effect, and if there is, what does that say?
Can I make a statement? It's John Sargakis. Is it okay?
Please.
Okay. So
ahead,
there is no lease. It was still month to month. And besides, if it was a lease, it was sold to a new company, Athana. And the lease, Wayne, correct me if I'm wrong, has a statement that once it's sold, the lease is bound can be taken over by the new owner, right?
Can't hear you. Can you uncover your microphone, please?
You can't hear me now?
I can hear you now. Thank you.
Okay. So there was no lease. It was month to month. And if there was a lease, there was a new owner, August. New owner came in and bought the place in August. So which invalidated in the lease, it says it invalidates the lease or cancels the lease, and the new owner can take over the lease if they choose. They didn't choose to. So it was month to month after that. And basically, to answer Gwen's question, there was 30 days notice given. I have Wayne right here. You can ask some questions. He went over to her and gave her a written increase in October, right, Wayne? Okay, so October, and the increase was 30 days later on November 1st. So it was the 30-day notice that you're asked about was done. And basically, in reference to all the things she mentioned, the increase was for a flat fee of $895. And before that, when she's talking about all the things about the heat and all the bills, her utilities were all included in her $750. So she was paying for 6.5 years, $750 a month, which included electric, heat, everything, water, silver, the whole works. She even used our washer and dryers free, right, Wayne? Yeah, so she even used our washer and dryers free. No coins, nothing, plus all the utilities for $750 a month. When the new owners came in, but they had increased in flood costs because the flood maps got changed and that property's underwater, got changed to an AX zone, which was like $3,000 or $4,000 more.
Can you speak up a little bit?
I'm sorry?
Can you speak up a little bit?
Okay, can you hear
Like
me now?
directly into the microphone. Yep.
Is that better? Okay, what didn't you hear? Or
So something about water.
I said before that she was paying $750 a month, including electric, heat, water, and sewer, all utilities. So when she got the rate increase was for $895, still including all utilities, electric, heat, water, and sewer, and everything. So I don't see what the problem is. She was maybe asked at one time when she complained that we could lower the rent and she could split the utilities, but the actual increase was for $895, including all utilities. And before that, she was paying for 6.5 years, $750. This is an apartment, 1-bedroom apartment on the water with her own private deck. She had parking
It's
right
a studio apartment.
I'm sorry?
It's a studio apartment.
Please don't interrupt me when I'm talking. I didn't interrupt you. Okay. All right. So. Okay.
I think that,
Anybody have any questions?
Can I give just a little feedback? I think that just because of the, I mean, it sounds to me like it's a fair deal because I had previously paid in my last apartment, I think $825 for everything included. I think my only hesitation and discrepancy in thinking that this was an issue was with the split electricity cost, because that is like bottom line completely unfair.
No, we
If
agree.
you
I
gave
agree with
fair-
you.
Yeah,
sorry.
I think if you gave fair notice, then it comes down to, examining the other properties nearby and what they're charging. And I think that's what the Fair Rent Commission is trying to do, is make sure that there's not some sort of inflation in, the residential availability. And, I think it's fair to keep in mind that we are in the middle of a pandemic. I'm not sure what her employment situation, but that's neither here nor there. But as far as I'm glad that we've at least established that you're not asking her to split the electric, correct?
No.
I
That's all
have
I have to say.
another legal question. If the property was sold in August and a Mr. Saragakis is no longer the owner, then why did he issue the rent increase? Are you now the manager of the property?
I was asked to stay on to do. Excuse me for a second, please. Sorry about that. My 3-year-old walked in. Sorry about that. So my 3-year-old walked in. So okay. I have 5 kids. So, where was I?
I had asked the question, if the property was sold in August, why is the rent increase being issued from you as the owner if you're no longer the owner?
I'm not the owner. I never said I was the owner. I was just asked to stay on because of the pandemic and also the transition period. So I'm just staying on as a helper right now, like I guess an advisor, consultant.
So when the rent increase notice went to Miss King, how was it signed at the bottom?
It was signed by Wayne Blevin, brought over by Wayne Blevin, which is here on a speaker, which is an employee of the company.
Okay.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
Asana's principal is John Saragakis' wife. And also the October 1st piece of paper I have that lets me know about a rent increase. It says, please be advised that effective November 1st, 2020, your rent will increase to $850 a month. You will also have to pay your share of utilities. And then there's a colon, it says water and sewer, electricity. Please also note that washer and dryers will have a cost and it is not included in your rent.
Wayne, you're gonna have to get in on this.
That's the piece of paper I got. And I received that on
Hold on.
October 20th. It's dated October 1st, but I received it on the 20th.
She's saying the rent increase letter she got was $850 plus utilities.
Yes, that was the first one you gave.
Okay, so Wayne is on the phone. I don't think you can hear him. He gave another notice that had said the $895 was included.
Yeah, that was later. That was after the complaint.
Yeah. So that was the first one, and she objected, so we changed. Given another one, Wayne delivered it personally. He's on the phone listening.
I think for me as a tenant, and I think from any landlord, the discrepancies would be in the date questioning, the wording that was given to her in the paperwork that she received, and our job as the commission, I think, is to deem whether or not that was appropriate or fair or something that's, upholding. So moving forward, I think that if there's like an issue date, a proper lease from here forward, she has 30-day notice, then we can discuss that fairness. But from this instance, like behind us, I don't see the validity, especially if there's dates in question, it being signed the 1st, her receiving it the 20th, and it being effective November 1st just seems outrageous. That's a 10-day notice.
No, but Wayne was right here and he made a statement and said that he delivered it 30 days in advance, and he immediately came back over because she objected to the utilities, and he brought back another notice over and gave it to her that was $895, including all utilities. So there's no questions about the 30 days and that she didn't get proper notice.
So it was going to be $850
yeah.
with utilities, $895 without utilities.
It was $850 plus water and sewer, right? Yeah, so it was. Yeah, so it was going to be $850 plus some utilities, and then she objected to it. So he went back over and gave her one and said it's $895 including everything.
So that was a clerical error on your behalf, I think, because that was like, oh, whoops, this is a problem. Now the tenants are going to object to that. You know what I mean?
No, it was just because she didn't like it, so we made it simple for her. That's all.
I think that if you were to go ahead and give her 30 days notice now that the rent is going to be $895, to me, that as a tenant, that seems fair. Right? That's what you want as a landlord. You're changing. I mean, I've been a tenant in a situation where there was a sale going on. He decided to move it to a month-to-month, lease, but because I was a consistent tenant, I paid rent on time. I was the only tenant in the building that didn't get a rent increase. There's things like that to consider too.
That brings me to my other question, actually, that I have for Mr. Saragakis is, the increase to $895 is a 20% increase of rent.
Right.
Did everyone in the building have a percent increase in rent as well?
Yes. Actually, all the other tenants were paying more than she was paying. There's a tenant in the front that's paying $850. The person upstairs, that another person was paying $750, is paying $895 now. So everybody else had the same increase or more.
Okay.
And actually, one person was already paying more than she was paying already. She was paying $750 for almost 7 years.
Okay, but that's not her fault that you didn't raise the rent incrementally. I don't think it's fair. And I am not a tenant. I am a landlord, and I would never do that to my tenants. If you felt the rent was too low, why didn't you incrementally increase it? Why just slam her with a 20% increase?
Because the new company, I'm sorry. The new company came in August. And by the way, just because my wife is a partner in that company doesn't give me authority to do anything. Okay. And so when a new company came in, they looked at all the bills, they paid the new mortgage they got. They got a new mortgage, which is an arbor mortgage, which is very, very strict. And they mandate a lot of stuff anyway. And they actually also said the rent was too low. So when they came in, they had this foresight to say, this is ridiculous, you need to raise the rent. That's why it was. We
Because
let
the
her
mortgage
stay there for
company wants
$750,
money.
including utilities. And just answer your question, Taylor, the notice for $895 increase was given 30 days in advance, including utilities. She didn't like the idea, which is fine. So we changed it immediately. Went right back over and told it was $895, including utilities. So she was given proper notice in October for the 30-day notice beginning November 1st.
And you said, just real quick, just to reiterate, you said the upstairs is paying $895 as well now?
Yes,
Okay, upstairs, they have laundry?
yes.
Miss King, do you have a laundry unit in your unit?
No,
Oh, okay, I just wanted to check.
No, there's no laundry upstairs. They did come over and use our common laundry. There's no laundries inside.
Yeah. they do laundry in their apartment. I could hear it when she's doing her laundry. I can hear it. So not all of the apartments are like exactly the same.
Hold on, this is going to lead into my question. Mr.
Go
Saragakis,
ahead.
are all the apartments, so Ms. King claims she has a studio apartment. Are all the apartments studio apartments?
She
Or
doesn't
do
have a
some have
studio.
more than
She
some
has
bedrooms?
She has a living room, Dan, and she has a separate bedroom with a closet, and off the bedroom is a full bath.
It was, can we clarify the bedroom situation? That when I moved in, okay, so that bedroom was not intended to be a bedroom. It has a giant jacuzzi tub in it. So I made a platform, like a wooden platform over the jacuzzi tub and put my bed on top of it. I had to jump 3 feet in the air to get onto my bed every night. That's not a real bedroom.
Well, the jacuzzi was made to be a platform also. You just took advantage of it. And you were told that you shouldn't have used the box string and just put the mattress on the platform. You went ahead and
I
jumped.
wasn't told anything. I did all of that on my own. I was not told anything.
I'm kind of sidetracked here.
This has nothing to do with the rent issue.
I agree with you 100%.
Well, I know you're saying exactly, but if also the two of you would not interrupt each other, that would be
That's
helpful.
true. Yes.
I agree, but there's a lot of cutting out of the audio, so when I'm talking, I don't know that anyone else is talking. So I apologize in advance if I'm cutting someone off.
Dan, go ahead, Eric.
I want to make sure that I understand the current situation. So Miss King, are you still living there?
No, I moved out January 31st.
Okay. So what we're dealing with now is the excess. The rent increase for how many months? 2 months?
Yeah, I paid you guys the excess for 2 months.
Okay, and that's $290 total.
Yes.
Okay, so that's what we're deciding tonight is whether.
I don't. Oh, sorry.
When anybody can let me, I'd like to say one quick little thing if anybody wants to give me time.
Okay.
Go ahead.
The first month, by the way, she did accept the $895 and paid us $895 the first month. And then she decided to not pay us the extra $145. So I just want you to know she did accept and agree to it because she paid the $895 the first month.
So, Mr.
Can I say something?
Excuse me, how many units do you manage? How many rental units do you manage?
I do not manage anything right now. I'm retired. So, and actually even during that time, I was just helping out, as I said.
Okay, but this isn't your first rodeo with apartments and dealing with tenants.
Not really, but yeah, maybe.
No. So in how many units that are waterfront that are under $1,000?
Not many.
I'm wondering, if we go all the way down Thames Street, how many can we find that are waterfront? In that sub $1,000, that includes the utilities.
None.
So, I really agree with you. There are none. I've managed real estate on Thames Street, both as a professional and as an owner. And I think that your rent increase was appropriate. Now, whether the other commissioners want to go into it and discuss this, that, and the other aspect, The fact is, it's waterfront. The fact is that if we go down the street, you're looking at 1,200 and you pay your own utilities. 1,500, you pay your own utilities.
Right.
So I'm feeling like I've heard enough. And so I'd like to move the question of how we're going to decide this.
While I'd agree with that, and especially because you were a former landlord of mine, I think that my biggest thing is 6 years of tenancy, to give somebody 30 days notice to decide to quit their lease and find somewhere else to leave just seems like pulling the rug from underneath their feet. I think that there could have been a little bit more generosity in time, and I would have hoped that a landlord of 6 years would have given me that, but that's just more from an ethical standpoint. I'm not even sure the legality of that.
I have a question real quick. So I just want to make sure I'm understanding this correctly. Ms. King, you paid for December and January at the $145 increase, because you said you lived there until January 31st, so you paid December and January. You were given notice on October 20th. So even if we give you the 30-day window, that for November, you only pay, say, $750 for November, but then you are technically obligated to pay the $845 for December and January. I'm just wanting to clarify that actually happened, correct?
I'm sorry, what's your question?
So you said that you lived there on January 30 until January 31st, correct?
That's right.
And you were given notice, you said you received the notice on October 20th,
That's right.
correct? So then 30 days after October 20th is, say, November 20th, roughly. And then you lived there December and January. So that would mean you paid $895 for December and January's rent, correct?
No, I didn't. I paid $750 as rent, and then I paid the $145 to the town of Groton's escrow account for December and January in anticipation of this hearing, because I had filed the first complaint November 4th.
I think by paying that, the initial rent increase, though, you accepted the $845. I think that was told to me by a commissioner too. If you pay that rent increase, you are accepting the increase.
Well, can I explain that for a second? Like, I was trying to get the escrow. I paid $750 like November 1st, like I was supposed to. And I had been asking the town of Groton for the escrow information 3 times that month, and I never received it. And Saragakis was threatening late fees and so forth. So I just paid it because I didn't know.
You were afraid. You wanted
what else to do.
Living. Yeah, I get that.
And so then I revisited the issue with Tabitha, and she gave me the escrow account for December. And then that's when I was able to pay the balance to Groton instead of Saragakis. And that's all I knew. Like, I wasn't sure how to proceed without the escrow information for November. I certainly did not accept it.
I have a couple of questions. Question for the attorney. Are there any provisions under the emergency COVID acts that prevent rent increases of a particular amount or anything? Is there anything regarding that in any of those provisions? Because I know that for COVID, you're not allowed to evict tenants except in extremely extenuating circumstances of harassment and things like that. So I wasn't sure, was there a moratorium on rental increases at all?
I can't answer that. I know that there's certainly a moratorium on the ability to evict. I have to look at other.
I'm looking at that right now, actually. It does say that there, if you complete the CDC moratorium declaration and give it to your landlord may not be able to start an eviction case until at least March 31st, 2021. Or if you qualify for the Connecticut moratorium until the end of the public health emergency. Can't raise your rent when your current lease ends. And then there's like a whole link on the homeowners and renters on the portal. I can send this. I wish is there a chat box in Zoom here?
Yes, it should, well, I think it's under Q&A. While you're doing that, my other question is, in terms of the utilities. So I know that the building that I own, the utilities are, one of the units is attached to the outdoor utilities. So there are 2 outdoor lights that are and the basement light are my responsibility to pay. So if I were to assess that tenant to pay the utility bill, I would have to make, I think the legal language is actually a reasonable calculation to exclude the electricity that is my responsibility from that bill. And from what I understand, any calculation of utility use for joint meters has to be a reasonable calculation. And I would agree with Taylor that it's not reasonable to assess everyone in the building. I would think the same fee. I would think it would be based on square footage, if anything.
But we're
so
not
that
talking
would be-
about that. I'm sorry.
But that would be my input, because clearly the intent of the extra $45 was a utility fee. So that would be the other comment I would make is, if it was clearly intended as a utility fee, to me to go back and say, you know what, we'll just raise the rent and keep it the way it is a little disingenuous. If you were just going to raise the rent $100 and then charge utilities, if it were a proportionate amount of utilities, that might make sense. That's a 13% rent increase and adding responsibility for the utilities. I don't think that's outrageous. But then to just lump it in and go, you know what, you don't like it, we're just going to tack it onto your rent, and now you don't have a choice. I think that is a little callous. And also, I don't think that that's fair, considering, as Taylor said, that that's not a good calculation of the utilities. So that's my input on that.
Great. Okay.
One other question, is there a security deposit that is still in your possession, Mr. Sirigatis?
Yes, but we had to spend, and she was sent a notice on how we dispersed the security deposits. We had to, when she left the apartment, we had to paint the whole apartment, and her dog or some furniture or something scratched up the floor. We had to resand the floor and poly it, plus some other stuff we did. So her security deposits were used up. Plus she has an outstanding balance she owes us, which is a different issue.
Isn't that normal wear and tear though, which I think is
No.
excluded? And if you guys want to check your email, I sent you guys 2 links on Gmail.
Yeah. The lease we have says same condition or better. And actually the floors had to be resanded. They were scratched down to the wood.
So is she supposed to sand them and poly them herself before she moved out?
No, she wasn't supposed to scratch them up and have her 60-pound German Shepherd do all the damages.
Oh, that's ridiculous. I had rugs
I have
down that
pictures
whole
if anybody
time,
wants to see
so
them. So,
I'd like to see the before pictures before I moved
oh, yeah,
in.
we have them. We have them, right, Wayne?
Okay,
We have pictures of the floor and everything.
Was there not a pet deposit?
yeah,
Or a
there was a pet deposit,
agreement?
Yeah, there was
Okay,
a
so
pet
there's a
deposit.
non-refundable.
security deposit and a pet deposit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we should stick to, if it's okay, to the rent. And we're pretty adamant. We're going to be handling the discrepancy in the amount she owes for the cost of fixing the apartment at a different time. Unless I'm wrong, I'm about signing that. Correct me, please. So, but I really don't want to get into a debate with her about this. I had plenty of pictures before, once you moved out and after we completed all the work. But and we lost a month of rent because we had to spend time on.
Right, but that happens in transitions, all right, you know, it wasn't gonna be like she moved out the 31st and somebody else moves in the 1st. That's just kind of like not how it works always. In a perfect world, it would, but I just think that there's normal wear and tear to consider here.
But this was way past normal wear and tear, believe me.
Yeah, but she lived there for 6 years. Were there
Six-
any changes
6
done?
years.
Was
6
there
and a
any,
half years. I'm sorry?
was there any maintenance done to her place in the 6 years that she was living there?
No.
Remember she asked about a problem. We had a problem situation with the roof, and we had to send up a roofer, and the guys went up there and kind of go in a couple of times and paint, you know, some leak or something like that. So,
But
The
nothing
leaky
inside,
ceiling?
but nothing inside.
Like no
The-
broken pipes or, yeah.
no, Wayne, was there
No.
pipe doing maintenance stuff done? We never replaced faucets or any problems that she had?
Those floors were not sanded or polyed when I moved in, so he's just making up for he's just doing it now and then like passing the cost on to me.
There's no passing you haven't paid the cost yet, so I'm not passing anything on to you.
But you kept her security deposit, right, Mr. Saragakis?
Of course, yes. And we sent her a legal notice within the 30 days stating our deposit.
You have not sent me a legal
There-
notice of anything.
I have a question. So you sent her an itemized accounting of the security deposit in
Yes.
15 days? Because 15
No.
is when you're supposed to send the list of what you're using the security deposit for.
We
30
did.
days
Itemized.
threshold itemized, correct? 30
It
days
was itemized.
threshold to return any balance.
No,
everything
I
was
don't.
done.
I did
Everything
not
was
receive
done.
any documents. Sorry, I didn't receive any documents from you itemizing anything.
Did you get a text from me stating with everything? I have proof that we even texted you a copy of it. And
You
Okay.
didn't send me anything. You text me, but you didn't send me
so you did
anything.
receive it then, at least.
Okay, I have a
Okay,
question for the
Scott.
attorney. If that we don't need the back and forth. I have a question for the attorney. Is it not legally required to send a written notice to the forwarding address with an itemized accounting of what you used for the security deposit?
I think you're required to do that. You know,
And
really,
if you don't do it, the security deposit goes entirely back to the tenant, if I'm correct.
I know I asked that question because I thought we don't want to know about that. It's really not the focus of the complaint.
Right.
You know, so I think the complaint, as I understand it, is the rent was increased. She doesn't think it's fair. Under the housing code, section 9-40 talks about all the factors the commission is supposed to consider to determine whether the rental charge is excessive. And unless you have any other questions for Mr. Saragakis and Ms. King, I think you should make a decision.
I agree.
And just a point of clarification. You're making a decision on
Call from the wireless count.
so she, Ms. King sent the $145 rent increase to the town as a way to wait for this hearing, and we are deciding if that goes to the town, if it goes back to Ms. King or Mr. Saragakis, correct?
Mhm.
Okay.
And so there's two complaints that were filed. One was filed in November. And at that time, my understanding is rent went up $100 plus there was an expectation to contribute to utilities, another 45. That November rent was paid in full, including utilities. And I agree with Ms. King that she was seeking some input from the town about the escrow account, and she paid it in the interim. Then there was a subsequent complaint filed in December where $155 was paid to the town's escrow account for December, and then again for January. So there's $290 in the town's escrow account. And you're deciding whether that increase was excessive and who should be entitled to that money, the $290.
While it might not be excessive, I don't think that his dots aligned the right way in regards to getting her back the information that she, as a tenant, deserved and is obligated to receive. So I would vote on her in her favor for that. As far as the rent increase being fair, I think moving forward, yes, if that's what he wants to charge for that unit, it is a waterfront unit, that is fair. But in how it was handled and initially, I just don't think it was appropriate.
I would say, this is my first complaint, but in my opinion, the utilities were not correctly calculated, and I would be in favor of a compromise where she keeps that overage of the utilities, that $45 per month fee, because there was time, if it's the $100 from December and January, $100 is not a crazy increase. I think 145 is a bit much. And I do think it was an unfair calculation of the utilities. So I would be in favor of a compromise if that's a possibility, to where she at least gets that $45 per month back, because I don't think that was fair, because it seems like that was not an accurate calculation of utilities.
I'd like to say that I've managed real estate down there on Thames Street for probably 30 years. And I think the 20% increase that we're talking about is excessive on its face. We have to keep in mind that there was no rent increase. Is this true? There was no rent increase for 5 years? Is that true, Mr. Saragakis?
6.5.
Okay, 6.5 years with no rent increase. I'm sorry, it's still below that $1,000 for waterfront property. I can't stress enough. The lease had ended, the terms had ended. As far as security deposits are concerned, that's another court. Let them make those determinations. And my feelings are going to go straight toward the landlord on this, based on those reasons.
I like the compromise idea. Because the utility wasn't fairly divided. Again, I agree with Rob when it comes to the cost of the property and that being a fair rent to charge. It is a fair rent to charge, but there were so many wishy-washy dates and nothing. I haven't seen anything in front of me speak on behalf, but if those dates of like the 1st to October 20th, if that's correct when she received it, that's not right. And as far as her not getting that itemized thing, again, different court, as he said.
You have an opinion, Dan?
Yeah, I feel that, that the rent of $895 now seems fair, but I don't think it's the tenant's responsibility to be in charge of when the rent is increased and when it's not. And 20% increase is a lot for some individuals. And I feel like the way it was handled was not fair to the tenant at all. And I'm inclined to favor the tenant.
Okay, so can we have a roll call vote?
Can I make a quick statement before you do that?
Go ahead, John.
Okay, just to straighten out some confusion that a couple of the board had mentioned. There, at the very beginning, it was presented to her a set amount at $850 plus utilities, and it was immediately, not 20 days later, changed to $895. Okay, so that there was no.
That's not true.
Okay, yes, I have Wayne on the phone. He was the one that delivered to you personally. He's listening. And please let me finish. Okay.
Hearsay.
So then the rent was increased to $895, including all utilities. So there's nothing to do with $100 increase or $45 for utilities. It was just $895, including all utilities. And it is a 1-bedroom. It's a living room, a bedroom with a closet, and a separate full bath, and a separate kitchen with a dining room area, a little eat-in kitchen.
No, it doesn't have a dining room area.
I said eat-in kitchen.
You're
please
confused.
let me finish, please. Okay. All right. So, so bottom line is that the rent was just increased to $895 after her paying $750, including all utilities, for 6.5 years. The new owners came in. It wasn't me. It was actually new owners came in, and they determined that in August when they took it over. They waited a couple months. They waited 2 or 3 months, 2 months. And they said, we have to have more money to pay the increase in costs with the flood insurance, the remapping of the flood zone on the water there. They had to have flood insurance for the new mortgage with Arbor. And plus they looked at all the costs of the utilities and the new mortgage and everything. And they said, we have to get more money. So that's why they raised it to $895. These weren't my decisions. I would think that she would praise me for when I did have complete control, to let her stay there for $750 for 6.5 years, including all utilities, even let her use it on washer and dryer free. That's not me anymore. It's the new company came in, and I felt they were very fair for $895 for a 1-bedroom on the water with her own private deck and parking right behind there, looking at the sunsets every night. So just want to sum everything up. It can be this titter tat or whatever, and everybody can think that we weren't being good. I've stayed on to try to make things smooth, and Wayne was a great. Wayne's right here listening. He's a great guy there. He was always over there every time she needed something. He was always there helping her out, and to let her stay there. I know she lost her job, and maybe that had a lot to do with it, but even if she would have came to us and was communicating more, we probably would have actually said, okay, maybe we'll work with this a little bit. But they still waited 2 months before they did the rate increase. And Wayne was over there talking to her all the time. She kept on saying, well, I don't know if I'm going to move out. I don't know what I'm going to do. But I'm talking too much. But
especially during a pandemic, which is another thing. And I'll tell you, if in the middle of this pandemic, someone told me my rent was going up 20%, my life would be in ruins. I don't have a fallback plan, and it's unexpected.
20% of
it would ruin me.
20% of $750 is $150. So
fair,
right,
but the timing of it, the timing of when you brought that up, sir, is just like it would absolutely put anybody in ruins. So being now that she is gone, the debate here is whether or not we are ruling in favor of the tenant getting her money back for that increase and moving forward. You can charge whatever you want for that unit or not. Is that what we're voting, or whether or not the landlord gets
well, okay, the only other issue, the last thing I was going to say before, sorry, but is that she did accept the rent. She did pay $895 the first month. Okay, and then all of a sudden she decided to do it. No matter whether, when she first went in there for the thing, I know Tabitha told her the rules. Okay, so that she knew that she didn't have to pay it, but she accepted it, and she said,
you tried to probably keep the place that she had been sleeping at for the last 6 years. Am I right? Maybe wrong, Jesse? I don't know. That's what I would do. I'd pay because I don't want to lose my home. I don't want to come home and be locked out.
Anyway.
Yeah, it was that, and
Well,
also he was threatening late fees, and I didn't know what else to do. I would have paid.
Ruin you were walking into.
Okay, I'm agreeing to make a vote because I got to get going. I'm sorry. Please. You guys have been very nice. I mean, I really learned from this. And I appreciate all of you because you all seem to put a lot of time in this and everything. I appreciate everything. So, okay. All right. I'm retired now. And I'm helping out as much as I can. But that's the sense of it. I really appreciate everybody. And I'm done talking. So you guys want to vote? Let's do it.
I don't know how this goes if someone makes a motion to vote on a particular issue or whatever, but my last statement I just want to say is, and I know this all could have been fixed by proper documentation. If we received time-stamped documentation that she got proper notice, this would have been an easy decision, but we didn't get that from the landlord, which if you asked me when I raised my tenant's rent last, I would be able to provide you a paper copy of that letter that I mailed to them and made sure that they got that I gave them notice that I raised their rent. So
you want to make a statement?
I would just say in the future, maybe document better because then you wouldn't have this issue. But I guess that's a question to the attorney. Does someone have to make a motion of a particular thing to vote on? Is that how we go forward?
I think that's best.
I'll make a motion that we return, so it's if I'm understanding this correctly, there's $290 in the account from 2 months of the additional payments. I would make a motion that we return 200 of it to the landlord and 90 of it back to the tenant.
there a second on that?
Okay, so
No second.
Can I make a motion to return the money to the tenant and encourage Mr. Saragakis as a consultant to consult the new owners to do better documentation moving forward?
How about if I let Wayne talk, if you can, he can actually tell you that he actually.
Actually, John, we're in the voting right now.
Mr.
so-
Sir,
Okay.
yeah,
All right, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So motion to return the money to Ms. King and encourage Mr. Saragakis to consult better dates to his client moving forward. I vote on that.
second,
Motion has been made and seconded to return the money to the tenant. Is that correct?
correct.
Commissioners in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I,
Aye.
Nay.
Nay.
Hmm,
So were there 3 votes in favor? I couldn't tell.
Yes. Commissioners Depot, Samuel, and Gieske were in favor. Commissioner DeVoe was opposed.
Okay, so that motion passes.
Motion carries.
That's
Thank
it.
y'all.
I guess encourage Mr.
Thank you.
Saragakis moving forward. Again, just keep tight dates.
Motion, wait, do we have anything else on the agenda?
Nothing else is on the agenda. A motion to adjourn is in order.
Second,
Third.
Motion has been seconded to adjourn. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
I.
aye.
Aye.
Thank you all. Thank you, Mr. DeVoe.
Thank you
Everybody
all very
else,
much.
You guys.
Thank
need
you.
to-
I'll be in touch, Jesse.
Whatever.
Thank you to the committee. Thank you,
Okay,
everybody.
bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
to